Good evening. Call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Itpitsimisiwak Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Now, before we take a motion for the adoption of the agenda, I am going to be asking our CAO, Christine Beveridge, to do a bit of a swap this evening with Denise McDonald's nameplate. We're very happy to announce that Denise McDonald is moving from acting chief financial officer to a permanent role within the town of Edson. She's done a remarkable job for us over the last year, along with the entire finance team. They've been absolutely incredible as we build the financial foundation of this municipality, which we'll see later on tonight with the surplus that we're going to be talking about. So welcome aboard, Denise, permanently, and thank you to the finance team for just a wonderful job over the last year. All right, with that, can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the March 18th, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the March 4th, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings, but we do have a delegation this evening. Our friends from the Alberta Forest Products Association here today. We'll welcome up Nicole to give us a presentation. And if you want to introduce the guests in the back as well for members that may not be familiar with these two gentlemen.
I will. I just turn this on?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, joining me tonight from West Fraser, we have Alan Baxter. And from Weyerhaeuser, we have Jeff McKay and Ian Qantas. Nathan Corser from Yellowhead Wood Products was supposed to be here, but something has come up. But those are some of your member companies that Alberta Forest Products represents here in Alberta. So thank you very much for the time on the agenda today. We have a slide deck up on the screen. I think it was in your package as well. So certainly wanted to take an opportunity to walk through that with you. So for folks that aren't familiar with Alberta Forest Products Association, we are an industry association that represents primary and secondary forest manufacturers across Alberta. We produce everything from lumber, pulp, paper, to bioenergy and other specialized wood products. So we have a range of large multinational corporations as well as smaller local mom and pop shops. So today we wanted to take an opportunity to chat with you and look for your support as our industry tries to navigate the trade barriers and the emerging tariff situation. The stakes are high. There's a lot of talk, if anybody turns on the news, about what might be at stake for our country and certainly our forest industry. So wanted to walk through with you folks some opportunities we see where our industry could use some support, and be looking for your support in the form of a letter by the end of the presentation, just to maybe get that ask out on the table as we walk through. Okay, so our industry employs about 30,000 Albertans. We have a really strong economic impact in Alberta. Last year alone, there was over $14 billion of economic outputs totaled by our primary, secondary, and spin-off manufacturers. That includes $75 million in municipal taxes, as well as over $800 million in provincial taxes. In addition to direct employment in our mills, we have lots of spin-off in construction, transportation, engineering, manufacturing, and really have that strong ripple effect across communities. And most of those communities are rural. I'm from Hinton. Edson's not my home, but I am from a resource community, and I understand the importance of those high-quality resource jobs to rural municipalities. So these raising trade barriers that we are experiencing are really threatening our industry's ability to compete and grow. And I think all of us can understand how important these jobs and that growth is to our rural communities. So the elephant in the room, trade barriers, tariffs. The reality is about half of our Alberta wood products are exported to the United States. Right now, our softwood lumber products are currently facing duties. They have been facing softwood lumber duties of about 14%. Those duties have been in place in various percentages for the last 10 years. Regardless of Trump and tariffs, those duties are anticipated to go to over 30% this summer. And if you do add the threatened 25% tariff on top of those 30% duties, we're looking at a really significant, over 50% trade imbalance on some of our goods. So clearly, that is impactful, and that has our members concerned. That threat of the 25% additional tariffs also brings players that were never subject to duties before, our pulp and other manufacturers, into the duties and tariffs game. So we do think that there are some things that the government of Alberta can do to help lessen the impact of the current situation on our members. There are 6 things that I would like to walk through with you today, and then maybe we can take some time at the end if there's any comments or questions. One of the biggest things we think the government of Alberta can continue to do is to advocate for our industry. Really strong advocacy at the national, federal level within Canada, as well as down into the United States, can be very impactful in terms of, promoting the quality and products that we sell in Canada, as well as turning it to impacts on Americans. 2 days ago, maybe yesterday, March 17th, I read a stat from the U.S. National Association of Home Builders that was in CTV News, that they're estimating the costs because of tariffs adding to each single family home is going to be in the $7,500 to $10,000 range. So those kinds of stats should, one would hope, encourage Americans to try to rally to support us and to promote free trade. We know that our industry also supports thousands of American jobs. We export products. They in turn take those products, turn them into goods, we buy back. We have an interconnected relationship that is really important for our economy and that relationship. The second thing that Alberta is already working on is to help keep our regulatory costs and burden low. We know that trade barriers are something that we have some ability to influence, but not a lot of control over. Regulatory burden at home is something the government of Alberta can support us with. So keeping our domestic policies and our Albertan policies friendly to the industry is something that we are really needing in this time. When we look west to British Columbia, we can see some of the impacts of higher regulatory costs and what that's turned into in terms of mill closures and job losses. We certainly don't want to see Alberta go that way. So figuring out how to keep permitting and regulation streamlined, reasonable, and cost manageable at this time is really important. The third item is to build with wood. So we know that BC, Quebec, and most recently Ontario have all passed some building with wood charters, acts, legislations. This is one way to reduce that trade uncertainty by using our products at home. We are advocating with the government of Alberta to put in a Build with Wood charter that would see our Albertan wood being used in Alberta in mass timber or other wood construction. So promoting that mass timber is something that we would really be looking for support in. Got a picture here of an 18-story student housing unit in UBC in Vancouver. So this is just one example of how far advanced building with wood has come across Canada, and is something we think that should be encouraged in Alberta. If there's any public funding going towards infrastructure, looking to build with wood first is something that could really see domestic use for our products. The other item we were looking for the government of Alberta to do is to lobby and engage on our behalf with the federal government in Canada. As mentioned, we've had duties on our softwood lumber for at least the past decade because the We're challenging whether or not that's legal. Those duties are being held in the U.S. trust and are amassed to about $10 billion. So we, with other industry associations, have asked the federal government to leverage those duties held as a financial backstop so that our members can take out loans against those duties held in trust. And that would really help free up cash flow and provide our industries with access to dues that are being held in the U.S. Treasury while we wait out this round of softwood lumber negotiations and the status of those duties long term. So that idea of a federal financial backstop is something that we would like Alberta to continue promoting and discussing with the federal government. The fifth item is around market diversification. I think the last few weeks, maybe a month, have really stressed to us the need to be looking outside of the United States for other places to send our products, to diversify our markets, and keep us competitive and viable long term. We have been asking the provincial government to join us on trade missions. And certainly AFPA has identified some potential growth markets listed on the screen there, India, Philippines, China, Japan, and Korea. So I think actively trying to engage with these markets, show them the sustainable forest management that we have in Alberta, the support that forest industry has from government of Alberta, can help us build some other places and places to ship our products around the world. So we're looking for the government support to help us advocate and get our goods into other markets. But certainly we're landlocked, and to do that requires transportation. So really happy that Edson is also a member of the Community Rail Advocacy Alliance. We really see this as an important initiative, so thank you folks for being members of this alliance. The final item on our list of 6 actions is to implement the forestry manufacturing tax credit. So this tax credit is already listed in the Ministry of Jobs, Economy and Trade's mandate letter. It's based on the agriculture processing investment tax credit and the petroleum producers tax credit, if you're familiar with either of those. It's an incentive to encourage investment in innovation, new products, new technology. So the government's identified this tax credit as a mandate item, but has yet to implement it. And our ask is that we encourage them to move that along. Certainly this is the time where we would have some needs for additional incentives to innovate, to invest, and that tax credit could go a long way in helping our members. So our industry is strong. Don't let me sell a story that isn't that, but we're certainly facing some real challenges in the immediate future. So we do believe that with strong advocacy, smart policy decisions, and support from municipalities such as Edson, that we can get our members through this rough patch. We can continue to be a sustainable provider of jobs, of their economies, and of trees. So that is our 6 actions that we would be looking for Edson's support in the form of a letter to Premier Smith is what we've been receiving from other municipalities where we've given a similar presentation. And certainly we're able to help provide drafts of what that letter might look like or any other support to reduce your workload.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your presentation, Nicole, and for making the trip out to Edson to talk about forestry, such an important industry for our region for sure and our community. So with that, Council, do you have any questions for Nicole? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Yes, through the chair to Nicole. How does our product compare with the American product? Are there any differences between products?
So certainly I'm not a lumber expert, but I do understand that our product is preferred grade over some of the yellowhead southern pine species. I'm not sure if any of my colleagues in the room have a better answer for you, but stronger, better grade, desired by builders and home stores. Yeah.
So, when you look at it in terms of
Share the mic, Alan.
in terms of product, that we produce versus what the U.S. produces. You can look at it in basically regionally. So if you take the major lumber that's produced in the U.S. as far as the volume produced, it's southern yellow pine. West Fraser itself is probably one of the largest producers of southern yellow pine in the U.S. Southern yellow pine, for any of you who have ever made a home out of hemlock, I come from BC, so I have. It's heavy, it case hardens, it splits, it's hard to ship, it goes to mold easy. There's all kinds of things in the construction industry that make southern yellow pine not the preferred species. SPF, as we call it, spruce fir pine, which is the product that all of Alberta produces, basically is the preferred product because it doesn't have those issues. And construction grade, it's a way preferred. So when they look at that in terms of a differential, you'll see that in the market. It's the preferred species, the preferred grade, it's the preferred market. When they talk about Mr. Trump, I'm probably going too far, and what he's doing as far as saying we're going to build that infrastructure up and we're going to take that manufacturing on in the U.S., they basically don't have mills and the supply in the SPF to be able to do that and replace our product. They do if they add up all their timber and all their lumber, but most people don't want to build a house out of southern yellow pine. So, good? Yeah.
Thanks for the assist, Alan.
All right, any other questions from council? We're going to put Jeff on the hot spot now. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks, through the chair to Nicole. Thank you for the presentation. I'm definitely in supportive of sending a letter to support all of your members. I do have a question though. So you said that we ship about 50% of our lumber to the United States, and that you want to do a buy Alberta wood. So I guess I would have assumed that we already were doing that. Do you know how much we import of other countries, or are you just meaning other provinces? When you talk about that buy Alberta.
Yeah, certainly so 50% of our wood products are exported. So that varies by, I think like most of our pulp goes, not 50%, but darn near probably 90. So it's certainly depending on the manufacturer. So 50% is a rough number for all products. The Build with Wood Charter is trying to get more wood into things like mass timber, laminated veneer lumber, so building larger buildings with wood instead of concrete, steel, the more traditional building. So that's certainly what the Wood Charter in BC has done, that you basically have to prove you can't build the building with wood before you can move to some of those more traditional non-wood building products, concrete, steel. So I think that's the difference there between using our products at home, like obviously for 2x4 or 2x6 wall constructions, traditional home building. I think we're using those products, but trying to get more into the industrial and larger institutional buildings with mass timber.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, well, thank you very much for your presentation and making the trip out to Edson, and we look forward to continuing to work with AFPA on issues regarding forestry and supporting our local mills in the area.
Perfect. Thank you.
If you guys want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome to, but we certainly understand if you want to duck out early, so thank you.
Wonderful, and certainly available to help if you do decide to put that letter forward. So thank you very much for your time, and nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Safe travels.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to reading of bylaws. We have Ms. Denise McDonald, our Chief Financial Officer, presenting on aerial truck, fire truck debenture bylaw number 2321. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is the debenture bylaw number 2321 for the purchase of the aerial fire truck. The background on this is that the first reading received approval on February 4th with no subsequent changes. The borrowing limit is up to $2,750,000. The term would be a maximum of 20 years at an interest rate of up to 6%. Public notice was advertised on February 10th and 17th, and I will pass it to the CAO to confirm if petitions were received.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. There were no petitions received.
That being said, just repeating where we were, we advertised to the notice to the electors week of February 10th, the week of February 17th, and there was a 15-day petition period. March 18th, today, of course, we're bringing the debenture bylaw back for second and third reading. Administration is mindful of the current interest rates, and we are always looking for opportunity to draw funds at the lowest rate possible. As of February, that should have been February 28th, the 10-year rate is at 4.35 and 20-year rate is sitting at 4.95 at the loans to local authorities, which of course we have heard the Bank of Canada rate has gone down, so we expect that at the next listing of the indicative rates, that will drop again.
And just to be clear, our fire truck will not have an American flag on it. So just want to make sure that people are aware of that.
That is just that is not our truck, that's just a slide picture. We also, later in the council meeting tonight, there is indications for the surplus that council will have an opportunity to allocate additional funds to the Protective Services Reserve, which will reduce what would be required to be borrowed. So that will be coming up at a later date. I just want later time tonight, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Before you on the slide is the recommendations council administration is asking for, that council provide second and third reading to the debenture bylaw to continue. Back to Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Council, any questions before I take a motion from the floor? Seeing none, I will take a motion. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move that council give second reading to aerial fire truck debenture bylaw number 2321.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. And can I get a motion for third reading, please? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Make the motion that council give third reading to aerial fire truck debenture bylaw number 2321.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that motion is carried. We will move on to business items. Ms. McDonald presenting on the 2024 assessment for the 2025 taxation year. And I believe we also have Mr. Steblik joining us virtually.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have Aaron Steblik from the Compass Assessment Consultants, Inc. to provide our assessment for the 2025 taxation year. I'll pass the mic to Aaron.
Welcome, Aaron.
Good evening, Council. First off, would like to apologize for not being there in person. I had woke up this morning and my tongue was swollen and I felt I was probably contagious and I didn't want to take out of all of council and administration in one shot. So best to do it online. Congratulations to Denise as well on her new position. So that's wonderful to hear and looking forward to continuing working with her. I'll share my presentation here with council. Are we able to see that on your screen now?
It does not appear to be showing up
Okay,
properly.
let's see if I try that again.
There we go. Perfect.
Perfect, right on. So this presentation, again, is largely similar to the ones I've given in the past to council, just updated with your most recent numbers. So we'll go over the overall changes through the town. We'll hone in on residential and on the non-residential. We'll also look at your growth numbers, give a quick overview of the reinspection cycle, and then some things that we're looking forward to continue to do for the town year over year. So overall, taxable assessment change was up 4.5% throughout the entire town this year. A lot of that change came from the Pivotal facility coming online this year. So generally speaking, the assessment base was pretty stable, but we did have a rather large project come on to the assessment roll. Residential properties, we saw about a 1.3% increase in the value year over year. So that includes any new construction, demolitions, market change within that number. So the residential inventory, again, quite stable. And then on the non-residential properties, we saw about 8%, but again, that's really skewed because of the Pivotal facility and the assessment that it carries. Your existing non-residential base was again pretty flat, and stable. So that's also good news. We didn't see any kind of major reduction in that inventory. On this slide, it shows really nice visuals of our percentage change and our dollar change. So a large portion of the town saw a 0 to 10% increase. 6% and another 30% saw 0 to -10. So the majority of properties fall in basically no change. The remaining properties saw minimal change. And again, we do have some properties that saw more significant changes. But again, those were larger completion projects or just larger value properties gaining a little bit more value as time goes on. For the residential inventory, our valuation date is July 1st, 2024 for the 2025 taxation year. We use 3 years of sales to predict the values for the residential inventory, well, for all inventories throughout Edson. So this year we used sales from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024. In there, we were able to capture 476 sales. Our median assessment ratio is at 97.8, so we are effectively mimicking market value with our assessments when we compare them directly to the sales of those properties. We're legislated for residential properties to have a coefficient of dispersion between 0 and 15, and we're sitting at 8.3. So it's showing that the assessments are really tight to market value. We don't have a huge swing of some properties are being valued very low and some properties are being valued very high. You can also see that on the graph here that most of the bars are hovering right around that 100% mark with little variance. Of course, there's going to be these highs and there's going to be these lows throughout, but the majority of properties follow that line nice and tight. So this, in our opinion, and through the provincial standards, shows that the assessment is performing the way that we'd like to see. On the non-residential stuff, the same situation, valuation date as of July 1st, 2024. We used 3 years of sales again. We had 40 sales in the non-residential group, and our median assessment is at 98%. So again, we're very effectively mimicking market value. And again, you can see here at that 100% line, majority of properties are very tight to it. So we're well within the standards set out by the MGA. And again, the assessment is mimicking market value quite closely. For growth and inflation, those are two metrics that we look at, and especially on the budgetary side. So growth will tell you how much actual new assessment you have year over year, and your inflation number will tell you how much your existing inventory has increased or decreased in value. So your growth sits at about 5%. That is heavily skewed by the pivotal facility coming on. That's major growth within the municipality, a large taxable assessment that's come online. Your regular non-residential and residential growth sits about 1%. So there was a few more demolitions or degradation of value of certain properties, more than there was new construction added to your inventory. And then on the inflation side, again, I was talked about it a bit earlier that the market has been and the valuations have been quite stable year over year. So we're talking 0.2% inflation in the non-residential class and 1.3% in the residential class. So very stable year over year, just ticking along. So as far as the reinspection cycle goes, I don't know if I've ever really brought this map to council's attention in any other presentation, but it Denise had brought to my attention that it might be good for council to see kind of the general rotation of how we go about the reinspection. So we're on a 4-year cycle, 25% roughly every year. So the area in red is your main non-residential properties, and we like to look at those all at once because they're similar property types. And then in the next year we move to into the residential inventories. So that's kind of Hillendale and East Edson and your central core. And then year 3 we move up to Tiffin and into West Haven. And then over in year 4, we kind of do your the Bench Creek areas and more of the quote unquote rural parts of town. And so these boundaries aren't, they're not static. They do fluctuate depending on how far we get along in one year or another. But generally speaking, that's the cycle we've been on with the town here since 2015. So we've been through these areas a few times now, and we're continuing on. I believe last year through, well, a couple wrenches in our plans with the evacuations and then floods. So we didn't get as far along in the reinspection last year as we may have hoped. So we'll be trying to catch up on that and get into that Tiffin and West Haven area this year as we get through it. And then looking forward, you know, as time goes on here, we've become well acquainted with the inventory and the community. So just maintaining our reinspection cycle. We do continue to send out our annual request for information to non-residential property owners so that we keep a pulse on what vacancies and lease rates are for those properties. We try to keep as open dialogue with ratepayers as possible. And then we focus on the ongoing review of market trends locally, provincially, nationally. Even today, I was sitting in on the Canadian Property Tax Association education seminar. So keeping abreast of any trends that are coming out of the real estate markets. And then we've got our ongoing commitments to maintaining and exceeding assessment valuation standards. So really not too much change year over year for the town. We're experiencing just a steady Eddie market, and aside from Pivotal coming on, which is a great boon for the town. We're just humming along here with not too much change otherwise, which is sometimes good. I'll open it up to council now if they have any other questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Steblik. And I'll just, you mentioned in there that last year was the fires and floods, but you're talking about the 2024 assessment. So you're actually referencing 2023 for that inspection process. So just want to clarify that. Council, any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the presentation by Mr. Steblik? I do have a question. So oftentimes people get their tax notices and, they might be upset with the amount. You can't appeal your taxes, but you can appeal your assessment. So can you explain how that works and what that process is if somebody looks at their assessment and says, hey, my property is valued at X and I think it's Y? And how many appeals do you normally see, or what's the process that people would go through?
So for a residential ratepayer, well, it's the same for non-residential ratepayers. Non-residential ratepayers may have a representative for them, but the first step is reaching out to us and voicing those concerns. We're as close to perfect as we can be, but things do slip through the cracks, and we may have some wrong information on a property, or something's happened that we weren't aware of. So we encourage ratepayers to have that open dialogue with us. We certainly, if we need to, we'll come out and visit the property, visit the ratepayer, and try and mitigate any concerns that the ratepayer has. If it we'll exchange information and we'll tell them, this is where we're coming from. These are the comparables we're using to value your property. We think that it's well supported by these sales, and the ratepayer can tell us their side of and hopefully we can either all go away happy or come to a conclusion of some sort. If we don't come to an agreement, there is always the option for the ratepayer to file an assessment review board complaint, in which tribunal will hear the evidence from both sides and make an unbiased decision on what the assessment should be. We like to avoid that when we can, if the assessments are estimates of value. So as long as we're being reasonable to equity with other properties and the information that's available to us, we're open to discuss these with ratepayers before it reaches any type of tribunal.
Thank you, Mr. Steblik. And can you tell us, like in 2023, did we have any appeals, or maybe assessment review board committee members tell us that?
We did have one complaint that was filed, but it was withdrawn to correction. So that was a non-residential complaint. The representative and myself came to an agreement on a change to the assessment, and we agreed to fight another day.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I know assessment's very exciting for a lot of folks. So when it comes to assessment, what are the drivers of property values increasing and decreasing? For residential, is it primarily real estate values, and what do you look at for non-residential properties?
So the whole driver is market value. So the assessment regime in Alberta is a market value based assessment. So, we collect the data on all the properties, whether or not, there's little change in desire or in market trends based on the hard qualitative aspects of a piece of real estate. Basically, the driver of what usually changes year over year is the market condition. So what have people sold their properties for, whether that's positive or negative, and then the assessments adjust accordingly to that. For the non-residential stuff, again, market value is what we're trying to reflect. So sales really do drive where we end up on the assessments. However, in specifically for non-residential or multifamily or something like that, that does have an income basis to it. We may not see market transactions in a slower time, but you may see in the reporting that leases have been renegotiated for lower rates or higher vacancies or something like that, which then we can pass along through the assessment to show that there's either a positive or negative adjustment in that capacity. For the residential inventory, the direct comparison approach is king, because that's how real estate is traded in that inventory. But on the non-residential side, keeping in contact with property owners of what they're seeing for their vacancies and rates, lease rates and whatnot, really does help us determine where the market is headed.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the chair to Mr. Steblick, in your 4-year rotation, would you confirm where you are working on for assessment for 2026? And then the community then can expect door knocking for that area in this summer for preparing the assessment for the 2026 tax year.
I'll just click back here to this slide. So I haven't looked at this specifically for today, but I believe we ended off, everybody can see my blue cursor here, kind of on
Yes.
the west side of town, or west middle. That's kind of where we ended off. So we'll be finishing off that area and then moving up into Tiffin and West Haven here. The mobile home parks we review annually. So those are some big chunks that, we won't specifically be going in during our rotational here in the spring and summer. But we do those every January just to make sure that units are in place as of December 31st. So we have an accurate picture of where the assessments are at. So we're headed into that year 3 type area is where residents should expect to see door knocking this year.
All right, thank you very much. Council, any further questions? See none, thank you, Mr. Steblick, for your presentation this evening. And with that, Council will take a motion. Go ahead, Councilor Piaseczny.
Yeah, I'd move that council accept the 2024 assessment for the 2025 taxation year as information.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And we will move on to the 2024 year-end surplus allocation. Once again, Ms. McDonald, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is the 2024 year-end surplus. We'll just wait for the slide to come up. The background on this is that the allocations will align with the reserve policy the council passed last summer, early fall. The surplus allocated after approval of capital and operating carryforwards. Deficits will be addressed through reserve draws if needed. Creation of a new reserve must be authorized by council, and future surpluses will diminish as administration seeks continuous improvements to the budget. Following council's direction from October 14th for the reserve policy reallocation, we've allocated the accumulated surplus to reserves. So if you will recall, in October, council approved the restructuring of the reserves, and at that time there were a number of reserves that needed support for year-end allocations, such as the infrastructure and planning and fleet. Further details on reserve balances will be provided with the audited financial statements. And note, if requested, I could update an estimated balance for December 31st. However, would like resources focused on year-end processes at this time and 2025 spring adjustments in the tax bylaw for 2025 tax year. This slide is a summary of the year-end surplus allocation. An overview of the whole surplus includes an operating surplus allocation of $3,896,105. It's being split between an operating reserve allocation of $726,786 and a capital reserve allocation of $3,169,320. There is capital projects surplus. We call it surplus, but in reality it is reserves are committed to capital projects, and when the capital project is done, that reserve is released of that commitment and put back into the reserve. In reality, we don't actually pull the money to reserve, we just allocate the money necessary. But it's a good exercise to share with council so that you can see where our projects are completed and if we've overspent or underspent. The last item on there is the capital projects requiring additional reserve approval of $163,011. Noting that this is subject to audit adjustments and that some of the numbers in there are rounding. There's a rounding error there of $1. Just to go through the detail of the operating surplus, so we as administration are proposing the general government reserve increase by $100,000 for the top portion is operating reserves. Infrastructure and transportation reserves increase by $50,000. Social services and community development, $50,000. Planning and economic development, $321,786. And that's a fairly large number because planning has a number of large projects and they would be handled in the operating fund, such as municipal development plan, where we'd be drawing money from the operating reserve to do those projects under operations. And if you recall the multiple reserve plan we provided in October, that particular reserve was in a negative balance in the future. So we were wanting to top it up to make sure it had enough funds to do the projects we planned in the future. Culture was a new reserve and had a zero balance, so we wanted to, $5,000 isn't a lot of money, but in 2026 there would have been additional funds started to contribute to that operating reserve. So this just kind of starts that reserve for it. YCE Multiplex is the money set aside for the future requirement to operate the YCE Multiplex and to ensure that we have some funds available to support a horizontal tax rate to support not a huge increase when that facility comes on board. So we will supplement it by a number of years to help support the community in the tax rate not having a huge jump. Capital reserves, we have general government, $400,000. Protective services has $1 million there. $800,000 of it is focused on the fire truck, and $200,000 into the reserve to support other protective services, because protective services supports fire, police, protective services as in peace officers and such. Also the disaster and 911. Infrastructure, transportation services. If you recall, when we brought forward the extended plan, that particular reserve was in a negative balance, and this will help bring it to a positive balance. Fleet, $200,000. Environment we require is in a deficit position. So again, if you recall, we were working on those self-supporting departments being zeroed out, and this is the end of a prior year budgeting where we hadn't supported the bottom line to make sure it netted to zero. 2025, it will net to zero, but for 2024, we needed to draw funds from reserves to support that department to balance it to zero. Wastewater contributes $129,000. and waste contributes 47,866 to its own reserve. So those environmental ones are self-supporting, and their funds go back to their own reserve or draw from their reserve. Recreation, we're recommending 200,000 to the recreation reserve. Again, there's not a whole lot of funds in that reserve to support future capital purchases and planning. And the YCE multiplex, 120,000. This is our overall 2024 capital project year end. We've listed each project that was worked on in 2024. The green ones that where it says status is carried forward into 25. So those ones are not actually complete. The first column says budget. Second column is actual costs to date. And then of course the variance. So the very next one on there, commercial freezer replacement, was deferred. It's actually being deferred into not 25, but 2026. YCE multiplex, you can see that it's a multi-year project, so of course it's not done, as well as Vision Park is a multi-year project, and you'll see further information on it next year. The Civic Center renovations was incomplete. That project is incomplete, and then the anticipated flood repairs, that was set up, but it was handled differently, I think in anticipation of the disaster recovery program grant that we received, and it ended up in operations. So you'll see no costs related to that. The blue category under status is all the projects that are complete, and you can see the next column says additional funds. So the top three require additional funds from reserve to support them. And just as a point of clarification, you'll see the structural protection unit, even though there was a number of activities happening in that year where we were short-staffed, changing positions and changing people coming and going. For some reason, that particular one request to increase the budget to 250 was missed when it was approved by council. So that one is on the list because of administration issues that we were struggling to put forward items better, but you'll see that that will be cleaned up for the future. Then the surplus items, the remainder of the projects on the list will indicate a surplus, so that's a release of the commitment from reserves and putting it back into their particular reserve. The top section is the ones that are requiring additional funds. So you can see the fire structural protection unit, additional 76,527, and the power line burial requiring additional 23,149, and the sanitary sewer upgrade of 63,335 for a total of $163,011. And then allocating the reserve commitment from those projects to Protective Services Reserve, the Fleet Reserve, the Infrastructure and Transportation Reserve, remembering that that particular reserve was in a negative balance when we did the allocations in October. That will support that one being in a positive balance. Environment, wastewater, 300,000, revenue sharing agreement, 60,000, and general government, 56,000. For a total of $1,287,973. The last item on here is the Youth Council Bursary Program. So the town of Edson supports Youth Council versus student bursaries. There's a $500 bursary towards post-secondary for every year of participation in the program. Bursaries were previously managed through a deposit account, and creating a dedicated student council reserve will support improved financial management of that program, and we require council approval in order to create all new reserves. As a result, we have 4 recommendations for you tonight. The first one is to approve the overall operating surplus of $3,896,015 and the capital surplus of $1,287,973 to be allocated as per the attached Schedule A, and that council approve additional funds for the capital projects as per Schedule B, and that council approve creating a new special reserve for student council bursaries, And finally, that council authorize the CAO or delegate to amend the amount subject to audit adjustments. I'll pass the floor back to Mayor and Council for questions.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald, for your presentation. Obviously, a good news story to share today, and a result of a lot of the work that you and Tyler and the rest of the team have put together, in particular the investment returns and the investment policy that we've implemented here at the town of Edson, which is good for taxpayers of this community. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. McDonald? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Ms. McDonald, thank you. I echo the mayor's words. Thank you for your work in getting this all set up. I just want to say I do like the idea of the operational multiplex reserve to sort of lessen the impact of any potential whatever increases that we might see in terms of the operational costs, which is kind of too early to know, but it's good to be prepared on that front. I have two questions. First one is more of a, I don't know, maybe a visionary question, I guess. You mentioned in the presentation in the note about getting the surplus sort of closer to or more manageable or preparatory amount. What is the ideal surplus to create? Is there a percentage point that you look at, or I mean, I know we have to create a zero balanced budget, right? So what is that? What is the optimal sort of look of a surplus at the end?
Thank you for the question. Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor, thank you for the question. I'm not sure if there is an optimal balance. I think it's a bit reflective of how good we're budgeting. If we're budgeting well, where we have a good contribution to our operatings, and we're able to operate and provide services as we had anticipated through the year, I think the lower the surplus, the better, because in reality, if we have surpluses, we've asked for too much money. And so if we're budgeting accordingly, where we have identified our replacement plans well, which of course, you know, there's a considerable amount of infrastructure deficits. So any funds we do have will go towards those deficits, right? But at the same time, it's important that we are transparent to the taxpayer in taxing in a method that we are able to meet our budgeted requirements. And so as we tighten up our budgets, you will see that that surplus will start to decrease, because we're going to be more accurate as we move forward, right? And if there is any unanticipated expenses or items, we will draw on reserves to support them. And so we need to make sure that our budgets are more accurate to reflect that, right? Thank you for the question.
Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To supplement, I think also from the aspect of sometimes there's unanticipated events that occur that get in our way of completing projects that do also contribute to our surplus. That has happened to us over the years, where we have either had issues that have been, whether it be supply chain issues or staffing issues or emergencies, where, you know, sometimes when we're doing the budgeting the year before, those are things that get in our way. So I would agree that our budgeting process is tightening up, and we are looking at things in a different way, and I think a fresh perspective. But there are some times that surplus is going to occur regardless.
Thank you. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the mayor to Ms. McDonald. So I'm pleasantly surprised that we have a 2.1 million budget variance after an increase in interest regarding, I think it was just the changes that we made last year to our investment policy. My question is, are we going to expect a similar amount next year? I know interest rates have changed a little bit, but I'm not exactly sure how those investments were considered. So I'm just looking for ballpark information, because 2.1 million is amazing.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Chachka. Through the mayor to respond to you. We have budgeted, we have had the opportunity to ladder a number of our investments, and so we're pretty confident in what we've budgeted for the investment returns. Will that result in a surplus? No, because we have now budgeted it right into our operating budget to reflect those returns on investment, whereas in 2024, we had budgeted an insignificant amount and made a huge difference in the way we were investing. And so that's reflected in the surplus by contributing. We had returns of over $2.1 million, and 1.9 of it is going directly to the surplus. So the remaining amount, I forgot to tell you, I did have notes of the major areas contributing to the surplus were budgeted variances as well as unanticipated grants that end up contributing to the surplus.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor?
Through the mayor to Ms. McDonald, just with regards to the third motion that's on our agenda, to create a student council bursary or reserve for student council bursary. Is the reason why we're naming it student council and not youth council is youth council would be the name that's in the policy and what would be in the future bylaw. Would it be appropriate to name it that, or is there a reason why you chose student over youth?
Thank you for the question through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. I referenced our website, and so it is called on our website, Student Bursary. So if I have the wrong name, I apologize, and it can be changed.
Okay, thank you.
It is a bursary for students.
Okay, is that
So,
the reason why we call it?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's the reason?
Yeah.
That's no problem. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other future questions, comments, or concerns? Just in your presentation there, I did notice, and I don't know if it was an error or not, but we have the MT track list on your list of surplus allocations. It had a budget of $210,000. It's near the bottom. It had actual costs of nothing. It was under budget by $210,000, but marked as completed. So, did we win one in a trade show or something? I don't know if Mr. Kitlitz can speak to that or will require further investigation. Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Mr. Mayor, I do not have an answer for that, but if we did get a good deal, then great. But I don't have an answer right now. Sorry, I'll have to do some investigating on that. I was hoping that Ms. McDonald's going to say it was just a keyboarding error, but I'll look into it. I don't have an answer.
Thank you.
I do have, thank you for the question. I do have a response. Tyler's behind the scenes and answering as we speak. It was paid in 2023 and delivered in 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Goebel, for listening online. It's kind of creepy, actually, but that's okay. All right, thank you. Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I will take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move that council approve the overall operating surplus of $3,896,015 and capital surplus of $1,287,973 to be allocated as per the attached Schedule A.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get the second motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
That council approve additional funds for the capital projects as per the attached Schedule B.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? So very happy with the presentation here this evening. I just want to make a comment, though, that overspending budgets by $76,000 without prior council approval is not something we want to see in the future. Yes, we did have a lot of changeover within the finance department, but it's up to those department areas and those general managers to ensure those items are brought forward. So I just want to put that on the table that that's not going to be acceptable in the future. We certainly understand that this last year has been challenging with staff turnover, but confident where we're going in the future. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve creating a new special reserve for student council bursaries, or do you want to change that, Councillor Taylor?
Through the mayor, I'll keep it as so. So I so move the motion you just read.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get the fourth motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Pichichny. Everybody's taking a turn.
Sure. I move that council authorize the CAO and or delegate to amend the amounts subject to audit adjustments.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. With that, we will now go to financial reporting request for extension. Ms. McDonald. I got a queue up there again. Go ahead, Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you is a request for council to ask Municipal Affairs for an extension of the audited financial statements. The audit review has been rescheduled from February to March to manage the workload. The risk of missing audited financial statement deadlines is that it becomes part of financial stability indicators at the Municipal Affairs. We requested an extension last year also, and so this would be the second year. A third year would be a negative against us, but we would be okay with 2 years in a row. So as a result, we would like to be proactive and ask for an extension rather than wait and try to get approval at the last minute. In the event that it happens, we will not take our foot off the gas pedal, but there's a considerable amount of work to be done and review to be done from prior years. Just as an example, one particular grant required reconciling back to 2018 to understand accurately reflecting the project and how it was recorded in our books to make it accurate so we could now go forward. An extension request procedure includes submitting the request between April 1st and 15th, and we require council's resolution and justification to move forward. So our reasons for extension would be that we had a number of vacancies and transitions within the finance team, including the CFO position for 3 months last year. There will be significant restatement of prior year financials. We are aware of 3 in particular that are large dollar amounts that we know the auditors will require restatement of 2023 to be comparable between 23 and 24 statements. There also was contributing factors due to a change in municipal auditor. The prior auditor handover to the new auditor has been challenging to deliver the transactions, the audited files from the old auditor to the new auditor, and that has delayed the audit starting and continuing. We are confident that the improvements that we have diligently made in 2024 will significantly improve our compliance for 2025 to make 25's audit much more, a much better way to facilitating meeting the deadlines so that we will not require a extension in the future. With that, administration is recommending that council direct administration to request an extension from Municipal Affairs to June 30th for the submission of the 2024 financial statements and financial information return.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Council, any questions for our CFO? Seeing none, I will take a motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make the motion that council direct administration to request an extension for Municipal Affairs to June 30th, 2025 for the submission of a 2024 financial statement and financial information return.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. McDonald. I think we're done with you for this evening. All right, we're going to move on to Mr. Wagstaff presenting on the Community Engagement Action Team delegation response. Go ahead, Mr. Wagstaff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the Mayor 12 of Council, there was a presentation made from the Community Engagement Action Team with regards to the revitalization of West Haven Outdoor Rink. They have been working with the community groups as well, or working with the community, a number of community groups, as well as parks and community development within the town of Edson. They have requested, after their presentation that they shared with council, for a letter of support for an application to the CFIP, which is the Community Facilities Enhancement Program grant. That letter of support is something that administration recommends council provide such a requested letter. It does align to our capital planning. During the November 13th, 2024 budget presentation, the draft 5-year capital plan did note consideration for a replacement of West Haven Outdoor Rink for $100,000 in 2029. The concept put forward by SEAT in work with the community is an example of many benefits when a project can be advanced with those community partnerships instead of relying solely on municipal tax dollars to be completed. With that, administration does recommend council provide the requested letter for a CFIP grant.
Thank you, council. Any questions for Mr. Wagstaff on this item? Go ahead, Mr. Councillor Taylor.
That's what I get called during the day. Through the mayor to Mr. Wagstaff, just a comment, supportive of the letter, supportive of the motion that's proposed on their agenda. If you just recommend to SEAT to ensure that they just inform Minister Long of this, so that even take him on a tour of the facility or the current one, just so that he's aware of the project. I know he has to submit a letter as well, but if he's aware of it, I found that through the library submission, the recent CFIP grant that they were submitted, his knowledge of the project and his understanding of the project was actually instrumental in them the library receiving the grant. So just a quick recommendation.
Go ahead, Mr. Wagstaff.
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor, thank you. I will pass that along. That's great learning from that other project that we can help another community group with.
Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? I'm very excited about this. Since I've been on council, I've been talking about the neighborhood parks plan and revitalizing our neighborhood rinks. This one is a hop, skip, and jump from where I live. And it was so hugely used this winter by the kids, and that's thanks to the community, the residents in that area. And I won't mention their names because I'm going to forget somebody, but they do a lot of work to flood that rink, maintain that rink. We had Synovus there this year doing some really needed maintenance. So this is very exciting for that neighborhood, and hopefully we'll see the same thing in Tiffin. So I'm certainly in support of it, and thanks SEAT for bringing this forward, as well as our community partners. With that, I will take a motion from the floor. Thank you, Councillor Chachka.
I move that council authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support to accompany the Community Engagement Action Team application for a Community Facilities Enhancement Program grant in support of proposed capital upgrades to the West Haven Community Rink.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Next up, letter of support for the new trail development in Wilmore Park, and I believe Mr. Kitlitz is going to take this one on this evening. Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a presentation, but I think I need to click. So again, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. A very brief presentation on this. I press the right button, perfect. No secret to Council, the great work that the Edson Cycling Association does in Wilmore Park, providing both passive and active recreational opportunities for residents and even visitors to our community. In that vein, they're planning on adding a little bit more trail to the network. See if this is going to work for me. Oh, it's not. Okay. Does this work? Yeah, not sure. This will be tricky. Nah, it's not going to work. I did have an animation where I could show it's the blue squiggly line in the north. Right there it is. Worked.
Thanks, Jen.
Is where the proposed new trail is to go. It's about 433 meters. The association is taking advantage. Well, I guess taking advantage of an unfortunate event which happened in Wilmore Park through the fires in 2023. A fire break was created in this area, and they saw the opportunity to use this as a location for trail. The association has engaged with provincial authorities on this to get their blessing on the development, but part of the final approval is getting also approval from the recreational leaseholder, which in this case is the town of Edson. So that's what we're here for tonight, to ask council to support this project for the Cycling Association this year. So with that, this is our recommendation for this evening.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions for Mr. Kitlitz? Seeing none, I will take, do you have a question or you want to make the motion? All right, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the mayor to Mr. Kidlitz, thanks for bringing this forward. Definitely supportive of the cycling club and all the work they're doing. Just a question, when would they plan on, do you know when they would plan on starting this, if they get all their approvals that are necessary?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do not have an answer to that, but the good news is we have Ian with us from the association, and hopefully he can provide a little bit of insight. Thanks for staying.
Thank you, Mr. Qantas. And you already got your mic queued up, so go ahead. Thanks.
Good to go there. Yeah, thanks. So we have this round of construction queued up for July this summer. So the contractors been notified. We walked those routes already. So that piece on the east side was specific to the rec lease. The other piece there is on Crown land. So and that's kind of under progress with the Crown process for that. So.
All right, thank you. Any other further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing them, well, I do want to say thank you to the Edson Cycling Association for just making a great experience out there for everybody. Lots of hard work every single week during the summer to maintain those trails and expand those trails. So with that, council, can I get a motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move the council authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support for the Edson Cycling Association to establish new recreational trails in the fire breaks within the recreational lease as set out in attachment number 1.
Thank you. Any debate on this? Seeing none, all those in, Councillor Chachka, go ahead.
Through the mayor to council and those watching, so not a debate, I just want to just calm everybody down. Something else that I noticed that they've pushed out on their website is that trail passes are available for the year, and when they show numbers and the volume of the members that they have on that, it does support them with their applications for these types of things. So I just wanted to let that be known. So that's all I had.
Thank you for that advertisement. With that, we will call the question. All those in favor, motion carried. Yeah. Next up, you don't want to stay for the rest of the night?
No, I gotta go.
All right, thank you, Mr. Qantas. Next up, we have the Spring Cleanup Program 2025 and beyond, and we will go back to Mr. Kitlitz.
Thank you once again, Mr. Mayor. Just coming back to council to reaffirm the discussions and the feedback we received at, I believe it was the February 15th Committee of the Whole meeting. During that time, we presented 3 options to council. The feedback we received, I was aligning with going forward with option 2. So just to reiterate what that was, sorry, it was February 11th, my apologies. So again, this was the goal, was to try to standardize this program. We've run it a couple of different ways over the past few years, trying out different ways and different costs to do that. And this was reaffirming sort of how we'll manage it moving forward until council chooses to do it differently. The feedback we received was our option 2 again, as I mentioned, and we'd use our waste service provider to complete the spring cleanup over a 2-week period, as they did last year. We also introduced perhaps sort of a community cleanup day to sort of kick off our spring cleanup season. And then finally, we also talked a little bit about opening up our landfill for free drop-off or dumping of materials to those our ratepayers, our residents, or commercial opportunities that don't pay into the waste collection program. There's also a question to seek what it would cost for us to include mobile home parks as part of this option. So we did that work. We, again, through our service provider, they provided us these details for providing that service, assuming 4 mobile home parks are serviced. We'd be looking at a total cost of around $5,400 to provide that service to them. I think what we shared in the RFD, the challenge is the budgeting of this, I guess. Whoops, I lost a slide. Yeah, I did. Okay. So it's in the RFD, though, I believe, Mr. Mayor. The waste bylaw, which was mentioned during the committee of the whole meeting, list non-eligible premises under that bylaw for this program. So the waste collection budget is funded by fees from users who get curbside waste collection. And non-eligible premises don't pay into that. So this program is funded from that budget, and we haven't budgeted for this extra expense. So if council wishes us to proceed with this option as part of spring cleanup, we'll need to figure out a way to fund that. The other thing, I keep pressing the wrong button, getting used to this clicker. In the motions, one of the things I wanted to draw council's attention to, so the second one, is it second? Oh no, the third one that calls for a cleanup, spring cleanup day, the Friday prior to start of spring cleanup. We might want to just change that to be a little more generic, because the Friday before spring cleanup is the Friday before the May long weekend. Not probably the best time to do that. So maybe if we just change that to say, to occur in sometime in May before, sometime in May to have that day. And we want it to be flexible so we can move with the weather. I did communicate with the Parks Department this afternoon about when do they typically start cutting grass, and typically it's not till the end of May, June. But you never know, we get a really warm year, so we can sort of adjust based on what's happening with the weather and stuff. But so we might want to soften that one. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have, and I'm not going to read all those out to council, but there they are.
Thank you, Mr. Kitlitz. Council, any questions for administration on this matter? Seeing none, I guess we will, Councillor Chachka, go ahead.
Through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz, in the RFD, it's mentioned that for the non-eligible premises, which were those mobile home parks, that, perhaps that it can be invoiced back to them. Is that just a conversation that we would have with them and provide it as an option, and then they could choose to either proceed or not? How would that process work?
Yeah, thank you to you, Mr. Mayor. So I think that's what we do. We probably reach out to the associations, the owners of those parks, and say, here's a service that our service provider is willing to provide at this cost. If you're willing to jump on board, we could probably get them even just work with the service provider directly and arrange that for their neighborhoods. So certainly happy to facilitate that. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? On that matter, I think that would be an appropriate way of doing it. I know that we did do it the 1 year, significant uptake, but there was significant expense associated with that as well. And I think by providing some free landfill days as well, it does provide that opportunity for those that don't have waste collection from the town to take advantage of utilizing the dump and getting rid of some of those materials. So with that, council, I will take a motion from the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move that council approve the spring cleanup program option number 2.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Can I get a secondary motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
That I move that council authorize administration to open the landfill for 2 operational days during the spring cleanup week for free drop-off of items for Town of Edson residents on the last 2 open days of May.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz. Is that too specific on the dates, or did you want some flexibility in that motion?
Thanks for the question, to you, Mr. Mayor. It's probably a good idea. I think the premise here is what we're trying to get around is these are the services we're going to provide in that spring cleanup window. We probably should let ourselves find the days that work the best, because we are also closed, I think, on Sundays. So, yeah, it might be a good pickup. Yeah.
Yeah, so Councillor Taylor, if you want to queue up and just amend your motion to remove the time frame, just mentioning the cleanup.
So just restate the motion, or just to
Yeah.
pick up the last? I'll restate the motion that council authorize administration to open the landfill for 2 operational days during the spring cleanup week for free drop-off items for Town of Edson residents
Perfect.
in May.
That.
Sure. No, not in May. Just there.
If it might be snowing and blowing, or might have a fire out there, God forbid. Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. And can I get a third motion, please, removing the specific dates? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
I move that council authorize administration to schedule a community cleanup day for some time prior to the start of spring cleanup.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you. And Mr. Kitlitz, extended producer responsibility contract offers.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so, I have confirmed in discussions with the Edson District Recycling Society that they do have contracts in place and that we are a green light for April 1st to be implemented in the town of Edson. So extended producer responsibility. EDRS has negotiated with the pros, and remember the pros are the producer responsible organizations that work on behalf of the producers to deal with the products that they are required to pay for, the processing and recycling of being paper, printing and packaging, as well as household special products, which is basically household hazardous waste. It's sort of referred to in two different ways within the regulation. This results in a cost savings to the town because the producers are paying again for the processing of those materials. These cost savings, as obviously council can decide how they want to deal with those cost savings. They can pass them along to the residential users in terms of reducing the rates. They could allocate the money to other programs, reserves, whatever council wishes to do. Just as a note, because this took a lot longer than we were hoping for, I think EDRS got the final contracts late in March. February, March. We weren't able to get our contract with EDRS reestablished. Sorry, there's a typo on this screen. It says HAJC. That should just be Yellowhead County. Sorry. As council is aware, we have a joint agreement with EDRS and Yellowhead County to provide recycling services to both communities. That expires in June 30th of 2025. We won't have that ready for April 1st, but we are working with both parties to get that done. So what does that mean in the interim for the next 3 months? Well, we do have confirmation from the Recycling Society. They will provide a credit to the town of Edson on the monthly invoices. So for example, just for ease of numbers, if the invoice is $10,000 for those 3 months, we'll get a $2,800 credit for EPR for those 3 months, or at least until we get the new contract in place. Same thing goes with the household special products. A little bit more complex. If council read the RFD, the way this works is we're not going to be able to understand what the credit's going to be till after they process all the materials because they're commingled. They go to a plant, they separate them all, they decide what's eligible and what's not. They put it in a barrel, and then we get a price per barrel. So it'll come forward in credits throughout the year. They're estimating, EDRS is estimating it's about somewhere $30,000, $40,000 a year in credits we should get for those materials, depending on how much is dropped off. Obviously, these adjustments will result in some adjustments to the budget, so I'll get finance to help me with crunching some numbers, and for spring budget, we'll bring back some adjustments to the recycling budget in this regard. And then again, in preparing to renew our contract with EDRS based on these changes, we've had a lot of talk with our counterparts at Yellowhead County. They have an RFP out now to deal with their recycling throughout their county, which is much different than the services we provide in the town of Edson. So we've agreed that it's probably best that we remove this service from the Intermunicipal Collaboration Framework bylaw, because it's probably easier for us to just have separate agreements with EDRS on this. The other thing that comes into play is eventually the town will probably move to curbside for recycling for residential anyway. So it's just easier just to part ways. So we need to work on that, and obviously we have to get that facilitated before the June 30th expiry of our current contract. So I don't have timing yet, but we've agreed that this is the path forward we're going to take. So there'll be motions coming to council for amending these bylaws. Another note, if council does support the recommendation from administration to provide the rebate to the residential customers in the form of reducing their monthly recycling fee rates, it really won't come into effect until we adjust the fees and charges bylaw, which we plan, I think, on bringing here in April, first thing in April, to do that if council supports the motion. So with that, our motion is the council supports the reduction of the residential monthly user fees for recycling services from $11.23 a month to $7.25 a month to offset extended producer responsibility.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Mr. Kitlitz, first of all, thank you for your work on EPR. It's the gift that really just keeps on giving in your life, I'm sure. To council, I think that we should just pass this savings straight back to our residents. We can make that adjustment in April if the rest of council agrees. But yeah, just pass the savings straight back to our residents.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions, concerns? Just for clarity's sake, Mr. Kitlitz, so when would the residents of Edson see this reduction on their utility bills?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a good question. I kind of thought about that just before I came in here, and I didn't have any dialogue with the finance team before this, and I should have, just on the timing administratively. If we get, and I can't remember exactly where we had the fees bylaw on our agenda, was it for April 1st? I can't remember if it was April 1st or 15th. It would be upon adoption of that bylaw, really. So, but if it takes another week or a day or two for administration or sort of finance to get that implemented, I don't have that answer. So, but it's something we will get to unless Ms. McDonald has clarity on that. I don't know.
Go ahead, CFO McDonald.
Thank you for the question. I believe we're bringing back the fees and charges bylaw for a few small items, in particular rescinding the previous bylaw on the books, as well as there was another one that, some fees and charges for April 1st. Yeah. Sorry, ball program fees were missed on the fees and charges. So we'll be adding those and bringing those back on April 1st.
I don't know when the bill, sorry, Mr. Mayor, there's a billing cycle for the residents. I can't remember when that, I don't live in town, so I don't know when it is. So we try to get it for the next billing cycle.
So that'll be May.
Yeah, so that'll be May,
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, council, we will take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make the motion that council support the reduction in residential monthly user fees for recycling services from $11.23 per month to $7.25 per month to offset extended producer responsibility.
Thank you. Any further debate? I'll totally agree with passing this savings on to our residential consumers. Part of our utility program is we have built it so the costs of the charges that we are charging offset the cost of providing those services. Because the cost of the service is now decreasing, we should be able to provide that back to our ratepayers. So I think it's a good news story for sure, and excited to see potentially curbside recycling coming to the community under a provincial program. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. And we will go to council committee reports now. And who would like to start? Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Both my reports are on the 11th, YCE committee meeting and committee of the whole.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
March 11th, committee of the whole, and that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Chachka.
March 11th, the YCE meeting and also the committee of the whole meeting. On March 14th, I had an Attraction and Retention Committee Teams meeting with our Economic Development Officer and the Mayor about a joint initiative. On March 18th, also another Attraction and Retention Committee Teams meeting with the AHS site manager and a third party. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Bevan.
Committee of the whole on March 11th, and that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Moore. You gotta hit your mic. Go ahead.
All right. March 10th, Yellowhead Regional Library Board meeting. And one of the highlights anticipated startup of an Indigenous charter school in the Drayton Valley area in 2026. The Stronger Together Conference will be October 8th to 9th, a package to come out in May. On March 13th, the West Yellowhead Regional Waste Management Authority meeting on Zoom. A little tidbit from that, thieves continue to raid the Hinton landfill, taking things that they can easily carry out, as they need ladders to get in and out, so they can't take too many large things, which is good, I guess. March 11th, the council committee meeting. March 17th, there was, yesterday, Hinton Forest Resources Advisory Committee. Tariffs were discussed. Mountain pine beetle, not as much of a problem anymore between cold weather and preventative management. The threat has been minimized. Beetle problems remain just south of us and in the Calgary region. There was a large discussion on VOITS, which stands for Values Indicator Target Standards, and several of those dealing with matters in the forest. Next meeting is April 14th in Edson, 6 p.m. at the Galloway Museum, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. March 5th, I attended the Alberta Municipalities President's Summit. I think there was 300 individuals there from municipalities across the province. Big discussion on civility and politics. They had some experts, researchers on the stage. 68% of those in politics are experiencing some form of abuse, and that number is growing. They did speak about how council chambers and legislature and those sort of things are the workplaces of politicians, and there seems to be a higher amount of abusive behavior and less decorum when it comes to politics. So that's certainly concerning. Certainly conversations during the conference, there are a lot of officials that are planning on not running again due to some of the situations that they find themselves in or their families in. So that's not great to see. Also attended a meeting, was invited to a mid-size Mayor's Caucus meeting, which is a new group that has formed. You probably have heard about the mid-size mayors and the large mayors. And one of the things about rural communities, we have a lot of mid-sized towns the size of Edson, towns the size of Drayton Valley. And if you look at the provincial budget, there is a strong sense, feeling from rural Alberta that the cities are getting all the money and the money is not being invested in rural Alberta. So this mid-sized mayors group has formed. They have set up a working group with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs to tackle one issue, and that is the infrastructure deficit facing rural communities, and the urbanization of people flocking to the cities and the smaller towns in the province getting smaller. So they did invite Edson to be a member of the mid-sized mayors group, and so we will be joining that group. There's not really any travel or anything required with that. It's more so to have our name associated with the lobbying efforts with the provincial government to get our fair share in rural Alberta when it comes to infrastructure dollars. We don't have the resources the city does when it comes to the tax bases, and a lot of our smaller towns are suffering because of it. March 6th and 7th, attended the Alberta Municipal Leaders Caucus. Once again, a really great event. We had a number of ministers there. The Premier spoke, as well as the Leader of the Opposition. One of the big topics, the hot button topics at this, was the province raising education taxes. People on their municipal tax bills will see a much higher requisition for educational taxes, and the province gets to do that, and then the municipality takes a hit for that, even though we're collecting it on behalf of the province. So there was many upset mayors talking about that, about a better way of taxation and encouraging the province to requisition their own educational taxes, because quite frankly, the educational tax requisition is going to be much higher than any municipal tax increase this go around. So good debate on that. I had a meeting with the Deputy Premier and Minister of Public Safety on March 6th at the legislature that Mr. Kitlitz joined me with, just talking about some of the challenges in our community with mental health and addictions and some of the public safety issues that we've seen in our community. Talked about the investments into addictions. Gun is one of the new facilities that's open, which is much closer to Edson for those looking to get treatment. Talked about some of the policing issues as well, and spoke about the policing committees and our council's dissatisfaction with kind of how that's been set up. The Deputy Minister Zublocki was there, and he had said that we are more than welcome to invite Yellow County to our municipal meetings on policing. They just cannot be a voting member. So. Then on the 11th, I had the YCE meeting, 11th, the Cal meeting, March 12th, ARC subcommittee meeting, March 14th, met with Councillor Chachka and our EDO regarding medical recruitment and some things that we're working on there. And that is my report. We have no information items, no notices of motion. Can I get a motion, please, to go into closed session? Councillor Chachka.
I move that the meeting move into a closed session pursuant to Section 24 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried. All right. Thank you, everybody who maybe still be watching. Council, do we have any motions coming out of closed session? Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I move that council direct the CAO to proceed with negotiations with the Edson Medical Center Corporation as discussed in closed session.
Thank you, Councillor Pasichny. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously, and I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.